Like you said, my name is Clara. I'm part of Team Microchips and Queso, but I founded the team Fulminata. So from Skystone through Center Stage, I was part of Team 16597 Fulminata, and we made it to the World Championships last year. And I think we've learned a thing or two about building pits. So that's what I'm going to be sharing about today. So, first of all, why is a pit important? Your pit is the first impression that judges and spectators get about your team. So, it's really of a question of what story you want to tell the people at the event about your team. So, representing your team through your pit. Since it's the first impression that people get, information about your team has to be readily available to anyone who comes by. This could look like whatever your team wants to present. So, you could have a really cool team dynamic. For example, last year, my team it was just me and my siblings. We thought that was a really cool dynamic that we wanted to expound upon. If you have unique mechanisms, unique software, whatever makes your team unique, you want to put that in your pit, whatever story you want to tell. For example, for Fulminata, we had 3 different banners on the side of our pit, all that told a story of highlights that we wanted to tell the people at the event. So the information that you have in your pit has to be information that isn't already in your portfolio. You want to expand any information that you put in your pit is going to expand on from your portfolio. If you have banners or pictures or videos, all of this has to tell a story. It should be able to be easily identifiable and show how it relates to the information that you have in your pit. It has to be quick and concise. People want to read it quickly. For example, on Fulminata, this is a really big reach that we did for our team. We had 5 monitors total on our pit. We have 2 on each side of our pit. One of them was our custom path planning software example that we call Marvin. People could come and sit down and mess around with this path planning software. It was super intuitive. They could write an auto in 5 minutes. Then we had another one that was our sponsors and mentors, how they helped our team out. Another was our CAD animations and renders with some explanations of how they related to our robot. And then another monitor was some AI robots learning in real time. It was a really fun interactive example. We got to talk to a lot of people about it, and it got a lot of people into our pit. We also had one TV monitor in the back of our pit that had a video explanation of a really cool control algorithm that we had written for our robot. And then again, like I said, the 3 banners, the 3 highlights that we wanted to do for our control, our outreach, and then who we were as a team. For controlling this stuff in our pit, it was pretty difficult, but for the monitor control, we had an HDMI splitter that was a 1 in 4 out HDMI splitter to control all of the monitors. And we also had a custom software that one of our team members built, and it's free to use on GitHub. If you're interested in putting monitors in your pit and you're not sure how to really organize them, this software is really, really useful. And I have it linked at the end of our presentation. Wiring for our pit, since we had 5 monitors, we wired up everything in a test run when we built our pit. We coiled up all the cables with zip ties so that when we set up the pit, we just had to cut those zip ties and it was ready to go. Also, to make for quick setup, we had our pit taken down in sections with the curtains already on for a super quick setup. Our pit is an aluminum structure that our team members welded together. It was a really cool learning experience for our team. You don't have to do that for your team. I've seen a lot of teams really successful with tents and with PVC pipes. For our team, since we had an aluminum structure, we strung steel cables across the top and the sides and the back to make the pit super sturdy. We also had team roles for pit setup to make it super fast. And so we had someone doing the wiring and power. We had someone setting up the tables, tablecloths, curtains. We had somebody setting up the swag, setting up the robot. And so splitting it into those team roles really helped pick up the pace for the pit setup. So then team representatives are a really big part of the information part of your pit. Team representatives help make connections with the teams and the judges. Your team representative attitude towards the conversation really impacts how judges and other teams see your team as a whole. So BGP, be kind, answer a bunch of questions. The things that team representatives should know is really whatever information your team wants to get across. If you have something unique about your team, make sure your team representative knows that. Your team representative should also know team strategy and autonomous options. When teams come over by your pit, they're scouting, they're looking for things to talk about, and they're potentially looking for you to be an alliance partner. And so your team representative should really have at least a basic understanding of what your robot can do, what your autonomous can do, how you work better together. And also explain physical examples of the robot subsystems and who to direct more specific questions to. So if you're like me, you don't do much in software and someone asks you a really complicated software question, I should at least be able to know, oh, you can go talk to my team member, Bowen, or he'll be back at the pit soon, or bring him over so you can ask him a question. Okay, so gaining and keeping an audience at your pit. One of the things that our team has really found throughout the years of building a pit is that there's 3 levels of interest for people who come by your pit. There's low engagement, mid engagement, and high engagement levels of interest. So low engagement people are people who are just walking past. They're looking for something really quick, fun, engaging. They want to get something really fun out of this experience. Then there's the mid engagement people. They're a bit curious about your team. They want to learn a little bit more, but they don't necessarily want to have a full conversation. So this is when handouts, posters, slide decks, etc., are really good for that level of interest. And then you have the high engagement people. So people who really want to learn a ton more about your team, how you did something. They want to have in-depth explanations of your robot and have a good conversation with your team members. Some examples of these activities that our team has done last year, we had a Pixel Plinko to where people could win candy by dropping a center stage pixel down this Plinko board. And we also had a pixel signing to where anyone who walked by would be like, hey, does your team want to come sign our pixel? And it was a really quick, low time commitment for them. It was really fun. Our team also got a lot out of it. We got some really, really cool people to sign our pixels at Worlds, like Dean Kamen and Mark Rober and Ethan from Gilbilda, and just a really cool experience for our team. So mid-interest activities could look like slideshows or interactive robot demonstrations, a general overview of your robot. And then high-interest activities is where you really want to have a good conversation with anyone who walks by. So this could be interactive simulations or games like our Marvin, our path planning software. People were able to sit down anywhere from a second grader to a grandparent or a mentor who didn't know tons about the game. They're able to play this game for 5 minutes and then walk away with a good understanding of the game and have their own autonomous written. Explanations of the underlying science behind their robot design or complicated software and control systems is really good high interest activity for that audience. So it's one thing to gain an audience and it's another to keep your audience. So information and activities that you have in your pit has to be concise. If your team's been around, where they're from, how they're doing so far in the competition. Okay, now pit planning and construction. You really, really want to plan your pit. Please don't start brainstorming your pit until the week before a competition. It's not a great idea. The general timeline that our team follows for constructing as a pit is either the summer before or the beginning of your season. Start thinking about what structure you're going to use for your pit, kind of the shell of it, and some elements that you want in your pit. Do you even want swag out? Do you want monitors? Do you want activities? Start thinking about things before the season even begins. And then 1 month before is when our team starts solidifying plans for slide decks, activities, any swag or decorations we want to get, any posters, start ordering that stuff, start building those slide decks. And then 2 weeks before a competition is when we set ourselves a deadline for everything to be ready for a test run of the pit. So practice runs are super, super important for your pit. Doing a practice run really helps the team figure out how much storage you have, the spacing available, and if you have any forgotten decorations or blank spots. It also helps you get a feel for how long the pit setup will take at a competition. In the very beginning, when our team built our pit, we did a practice run and it took us about 2 hours to set up our pit. Ideally, a pit should take anywhere between 20 minutes to an hour to set up. We had to do some redesign on our pit, so it'd be a lot quicker to set up with the amount of people that we had, because sometimes you don't have tons of time to set up your pit. These are some examples of our team. This was a practice run in our mentor's garage. And then this is us setting up a pit the night before competition, the really quick setup that we had. And then this is a video of our team at the Texas State Championships with a bunch of people around our pit and engaging with all of our conversation and activities. This was at Worlds. This was before the competition even started. So we had a bunch of people flocking around our pit. It was super big. It was super bright. It was right on a corner. It was easily accessible. And it was very engaging to people. This was some SolidWorks professionals, some representatives from SolidWorks EDU stopped by our pit to ask questions about our CAD and about how we use SolidWorks. And so the big thing is that you never know who's going to come by your pit. You always want to be open and inviting to anyone who walks by. You never know who they are. You never know what information you might be able to get them. This is another example of our team at Worlds engaging all three different interest levels. And then this is our proof. Dean came in, Mark Rober, we had Science Bob, we have one of the engineers from Crunch Labs to sign our pixel. And then, okay, so more elements that you want to include in your pit is good lighting. It's often the difference between a good pit and a great pit. So invest in some LED strips. They make your pit really bright. It makes it super inviting. And a light pit really helps teams see your robot. It helps judges read posters, see your team faces better. And it's dark pits are not very inviting and they're hard to see in. Also, organization for your team. Team members are going to bring personal items and you can't stop them. A lot of them are going to bring backpacks. And so have a place for your team members to put their stuff in the pit that's not out on the tables or in the middle of a walkway. Also have space for tools and spare parts. This could be under the table. You can see in this picture, this is our bunch of our team screw boxes here stuck under a table. Also keep your pit clean. I've noticed a lot their team members have water bottles, snack wrappers, random swag from other teams. It ends up just out and on the tables and it makes it look super messy. So just make sure you keep your pit clean. If you need, get a little trash can, stick it under a table for your team members. And then information. Again, your pit is the best way for your team to convey any information to the entire event. So have your auto strategy, your robot capability, market yourself to other teams, any information you want to get across, make sure it's in your pit. Again, team number and swag. Have your team number out on your pit. Make your team easily identifiable to other teams and to judges. This will help you a lot with scouting and with pit judges. Make your team be recognizable. So you can have bracelets, pins, magnets, etc. In conclusion, your pit is a home base for your team members, but it's also a hub of information for anyone at the event to get information about your team. It can represent your team spirit, your team values, your robot, your software, your outreach, whatever you want your pit to represent, make sure it's in there. Be prepared with your pit, keep it clean, had good information, answer questions, be welcome and inviting and graciously professional. And that's the end of my presentation. I have a link tree here with a bunch of resources that our team has, where to get swag, where to order banners from. The GitHub for the monitor organization software is on there too. So if y'all have any questions, I'm open.
All right, thank you so much. There, let's go for the in-person attendees. Anyone from in-person have any questions regarding pits? If not, we have a lot of online questions. So first one from FTC 23425. How did you have time to set up all of that?
That's a good question. This is something that our team really had to hone in. Like I said at the beginning, it took us about 2 hours to set up the entire pit. But in the end, we got it to about from 20 minutes to 45 minutes. It just really depended on how distracted our team members were. We had, I'd say, about 4 team members and 3 or 4 adults to help set up, adult mentors to help us set up the pit. And so the very first thing is that we do a practice run of our pit. We set up our pit in the very beginning. We string all of our cables and power to the pit, and then we zip tie them to the side poles of our pit and take things down in pieces and sections so that when we put it up, we're not starting from ground zero at a competition. We're starting with already big puzzle pieces of our pit to string it up. And then again, we just give individual team members responsibilities for setting up in the pit, and it makes things super organized, and everyone knows that they have a role in setting up the pit.
All right, thank you. I think we have time for one more question. And Clara, for the rest of the question, I was wondering if you're able to stay after your presentation and answer a bit of them through chat. That'd be awesome. Yeah. And we have one question from FTC 25783. How long would you say you dedicated to making the pit?
Uh, the for our pit, since we built it out of aluminum structure and we welded it, it was a really big learning experience for our team members. And so we kind of spent the entire summer designing it. But it doesn't have to be that way. For in terms of time, I'd say we probably dedicated maybe 30 hours to the building and designing of it, and then after that, in the middle of the season, just deciding what elements, what activities we wanted, and then for slide decks, I mean, they're just team assignments, and so I don't know if I can really get, an hour estimation on it, but we put quite a bit of effort into our pit to make it look good. We wanted people to come by our pit, we wanted to be proud of our pit, and so we did put a lot of time into it.
All right, thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause to Microchips and Quesos and Clara for presenting. Thank you.
You.